Two young spruce collected together, so sort of a one containered zone. You know, I think first steps for me are going to be to try to clear out here the nabare, see what we got for roots. You know, what's interesting, these trees are really young, and they've pushed out. It's mid-June. You can actually see the buds where they've placed them. It's right by my thumb there. So that'll be nice for trimming for me. And then I can trim back to those buds. But I figured, you know, I could let these grow, but I kind of want to start the styling. So as I start, I'm going to look for nabari. We'll see about that. And then I think getting the angle right. You know, I think having them apart like this is too far apart. You know, it'll eventually change the container, but I think having, and of course it's flat like that. It's the farthest part. So I think having some depth and deciding which one is in the back. Now this tree is bigger. You know, I always think having the smaller one in the back, you get dimensions in both ways, right? It seems bigger, the front one, bigger one, to have it either in the back or in the front. The smaller one ends up making the bigger one looking bigger versus the sort of flat. But I think having the big one in the front, it really just highlights the front one. And there's sort of this back one it's sort of lost in the back. Whereas if you put this one in the front, like the smaller one, you get it a little more. Now I think I'll probably make this decision based on size as well. So it won't just be, like, sort of on movement as well. And I'm just looking at these little bugs in here. So there's a bunch of ants. So it's a good thing I pulled this one out. So there's a bunch of ants on here, and they are cultivating these little guys. See that little guy in there? You can see them all on that branch. So they're all up on this branch. And see, these ants will actually collect that guy, and see there's little eggs all up in there. So I'm gonna clean them all off and get these guys off. So I mean, it's a good thing. You can just see it's not so crazy right now, but just crawling with little. So there's a lot of life in there. So it's a good thing I got to this, because I did consider just leaving it. You know, here's a perfect example. Let's see. Look at all those little guys. And the ants are actually, you know, cultivating them. Just little egg seeds. They're you know, what do you call it? Not colonizing. They're farming them, really. Growing them, eating them, farming them. So I'm gonna clean that right out. But so we'll see. So, you know, like I said, I like having this smaller one in the front. But either way, it's gonna highlight the front one, because there's just two. It's really, one's gonna kind of get lost. So it might end up I think getting the angle right will be important on this one, but also getting the movement. You know, I mean, the interesting thing about these little trees is they have this nice movement. So how do I capture the movement of both of them? And right now I'm kind of looking at something like that. Something like that almost. It really shortens that gap between them. And that does put this one in the front. So real alpine sort of style. A lot of wire on there. And that wire will probably be on there for a couple of years, I'd say, because it'll take a while for it to bite. And I wrapped it pretty loose. It's the ones around the trunk that I'm gonna have to be worried about. And this is unfortunate. You know, this is just one of the things. Just angled that a little bit, you know, just because it's gonna be on there for a long time. But subtle piece. Yeah, so, you know, real alpine. And if you look at the alpine sort of angles, it would even be like that. Like, they just look like little spears coming up. I'll see if I have a photo from hiking in the alpine. You know, the firs and the spruce, when they grow really tall, they're just these little spears essentially heading up. And what I wanted to do here, so I sort of got the lower, I tried to get the branches just at a sort of consistent downward angle. And I put teeny bits of movement, not a lot, fairly subtle. But really what I wanted to do was try to get the angle this movement out of the trunks. There's a straight section and there's a straight section, so I kind of hit it. Here you get a little bit more of this movement. It's kind of hard to see with it, it's wet. You start getting them on this two-dimensional plane, so I kind of like this here. If I move that out, you can see that little bit of movement. And there's a teeny, little zag there, but it kind of comes forward and up and rolls. So, somewhere in there, I think is where it's at. And right now I have it, the apex is going to the left, and so they're sort of leaning into each other. And I think maybe I could have this leaning out and this leaning over even more. So I'm trying to kind of get that mother-daughter feel with, I was talking about with my other twin trunk, but I think obviously with two trees it might be better. But what I want to do is have the sort. Now it looks like they're kind of coming together, which is kind of nice. There's a nice what do you call that? Connection between the true trees. But I think the daughter could be sort of looking out, the son could be looking out, and the father and mother could be a little bit more dominant over top. Sort of like leaning over, looking in. But really I'm quite happy with it. Again, maybe, you could angle it there and get more two-dimensional space between them. Really in the alpine you don't see the trunks at all, so it's more like that, because the branches are so heavily down. You really just, it's just not visible. No, I'm talking mid-sized trees, not ancient. I haven't really seen ancient. Something in there is probably where I'm at. Yeah, if you have any comments, suggestions, please make them. I do appreciate them quite a bit. And maybe it's shorten the trees even more, shorten that there, shorten that down. But I took a lot off. There's quite a few still new growth, and you can see it. But I did take a lot. At least spruce back bud profusely. So you got little buds there, little buds there, and I'm hoping to get a bunch more. So yeah, thanks for watching.